with you as many maidens would be.
Good everyone and welcome back to Not In My Lifetime channel for a Derby Day preview this early in the season, which is, it's a bit of a surprise, but we're here. 4 games going, fourth game of the season, and we've already got a big game already. And today I've brought with me a very special guest today, Rich from Red Devil United, mate. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for the invite as well. Good to speak to you. And thanks. You came on my channel last year as well to preview. I think it was the draw in the end. But no, thank you for the invite and happy to talk. And again, like you said, early in the season, there's going to be lots of scrutiny on both teams because of what happened last season and what's happened so far this season. So I think for us, it's like we've had first 5 games, some very big games already, and this is one that's happened quite early. So yeah, no, it's going to be an interesting one. I think there's going to be a lot of headlines, whatever happens, like whatever happens in the result, there's going to be some big headlines and talking points.
100%, yeah. And also, Bevo will probably he'll be here at some point. Obviously, I'm not sure where he is at the moment, but I've sent him the invite, so hopefully he'll be here at some point during the stream. If not, I'll chat him, see how he's doing. Big up the chat, big up everyone else who's posting the stream. Poppy and Rosa, big up Rosa as well. Obviously, I watched you yesterday. You have Alf and Kelsey yesterday on your channel. The very good preview as well. And yeah, it's just it's another derby, which I think. Both teams, although obviously you're above us in the league right now, it's a weird one because I think both teams are still nowhere near the level right now. Anyway, even if you've watched, obviously, I've watched obviously every game so far. I mean, obviously you beat Burnley 3-2. Obviously on the last game out, obviously it was a bit of a scrappy one in the end, but you got the win at the end, 3-2 win against them. Lost to Grimsby on penalties. Lost to Arsenal 1-0. Although we played all right, because Arsenal we played decently well. From one, obviously win the game and lost the game 1-0, but from where usual levels have been the last few years, I think it wasn't too bad. I've been under Amorim, but it's been a very stop-start for you guys as well, I think. And I was going to ask you, how do you feel? Obviously, the derby, anything can happen, but how do you feel going into the game on Sunday?
Well, this is one where I feel reasonably confident, and mainly because not that Manchester United has suddenly found a different level. It's that City, they look vulnerable. And I think that we've seen in the past that we had a good record against you guys under Ollie, and actually Ruben Amorim has had a couple of good results against you as well. Which again, it's over the last few seasons. I think you said yesterday as well that City due a win maybe, but it's one where there's weaknesses in both teams. So in the past, we'd look at City as being maybe a couple of years ago or a few years ago as being a team that you've got to take your one chance to beat. Now I'm looking at thinking, well, there's a bit of pressure on both teams, and we've got players in the team like Mbeumo that are gonna, if we do get some chances, we're gonna cause more problems. Hopefully, with the front players we've got than we did. Again, there's going to be still weaknesses throughout our team, and it's not. Ideally, we'd rather have this game sort of 10 games in, like with the Arsenal game, rather than this early in the season, where Sesko hasn't really been getting lots of like a proper run out in the team to start with, and we're kind of trying to rebuild a bit from last season. New goalkeeper coming in. I don't think he's going to start against you guys. It might be a little bit too soon, but it's one where it's a shame we couldn't play a bit later in the season. But again, I think you've got the same issues. I think you've got players coming into the team that maybe take a bit of getting used to the Premier League. I think Cherki actually, he was kind of a danger man because I think he's a problem, but he's not going to be playing. So that's kind of one good thing. But no, I think there's going to be a lot of speculation whether United play a certain goalkeeper, which isn't going to happen, I don't think. But a lot of speculation on pressure on Pep if he doesn't get a win. Because again, like I suppose for you guys, you're expected to be in a title race. I don't know what the expectation is for us among other fan bases. Even Man United fans can't decide how we should be doing. I think we should be getting European football as a minimum. Like below that, I think it's like, why are you spending £200 million on your attack if you can't get European football? We've got to be aiming for that as a minimum.
100%. I mean, I think with United right now, right, it's because I think the attack itself, I think, is perfectly fine. But it's way better than what it was last year. I think compared to last season. I think Sesko for me is a player I think that will probably become good. I think he's better than Højlund. I think he's a much better talent than Højlund. But I think, like anything, it's about getting the service to him and also getting him in front of goal. I think obviously having Acuna on Sunday obviously is obviously a negative for you, obviously, because I think so far he's playing decently well. He hasn't scored yet, but he's been showing a lot of promise, obviously, so far from what I've seen. So it's obviously Mbeumo as well, obviously, who's also a danger man himself, against us as well. So I think the attack you've got is actually quite dangerous, obviously, when it's obviously got everyone fit and that. The midfield's a weird one. I think the midfield is still a bit weak. I think right now it's not probably where you actually want it to be right now. I think I'm not sure he's probably going to start. Is it Casemiro going to start probably in Ugarte probably?
I think it's probably like if you look at Cunha not starting, I think Mason Mount might be injured. So United, I guess that people are guessing now that Bruno Fernandes might come into the 10 position, and you might see a midfield where it depends. Ruben Amorim seems to favour a Bruno Casemiro midfield, but he might have to break that up. And then I think most people are thinking Casemiro probably starts, and we probably see. This is probably a guess. I think we might see Ugarte because I'd imagine that we might start more defensive than fans want to see against City. We saw that against Arsenal, but no, I think in terms of like if you want to see how good our midfield is, every transfer story is pretty much midfielders like Baliba, Anderson, any midfielder that's quality and maybe Premier League based is going to be linked to Manchester United over the next few months until January. That's clearly what we've seen. Is that and if you remember last summer we bought a lot of defensive players. This summer we bought a lot of attacking players, and I think next summer we're probably going to be prioritizing midfield options. But no, we're kind of in the middle of a bit of a messy rebuild because effectively we just froze lots of players out and didn't replace them for 6 months, and that went really badly. And now we've kind of like got some players in. It's going to be, I think it's just going to be a bit of a work in progress where we're going to have highs and lows. This game, honestly, if Man United went to City and won and played quite well, I wouldn't be surprised. If you went there and you want to like didn't played well, I wouldn't be surprised either. So it's one where I've got optimism, but I can't really call it either way at the moment.
No, because the thing is, obviously, you've obviously watched our game as well. The 1 win and 2 losses. I think it's our worst start. I think since 2004, which is like that's how long ago it's been since we're actually. Because usually when we're not,
I think 2 defeats is like surprising, isn't it? That when you look at it and think, well, the next game after us is Arsenal. I mean,
well,
if you don't, do you think there's pressure on to beat us? If you don't beat us, you got a European match, then you got Arsenal. I mean, like a draw for us would be not the end of the world, but is a draw for you like is that a bad result considering?
I think it is, mate. Because I'm being real here, mate. If we had beaten Tottenham and Brighton, right? Then all right, we got 9 points out of 9. Same with Liverpool. When you're even if you want to draw or somehow lose the game, right? It's not ideal, but you're still in the area still. When you're already lost 2 games already, you're already on the back foot already as it is. We need to win this game to get confidence up because of it and also momentum. Because this is a whole after Arsenal, we've got a few games was a little bit easier for us. Not easiest in terms of where the victories have been at the start of the season, but I'd rather not be losing more games because that's more games down on where you need to be, and also a lower mentality and lower mood in the dressing room as well. Because if we do lose on Sunday, I think it could generally be a real punch in the gut. Because at that point, then you're already down 3 games already. They've losses already in 4 games. That's a terrible start. That'd be the worst start since 1997. Or 95, I think, 1 or 2 years. So it'll be like the worse you get, the worse it sort of leads to. So again, like last year, 1-13, like that kind of like spiraled out of control. So you can't let that happen again. Like you've got to start getting the results somewhere. Even if you're not playing very well, you start getting results, getting wins. So I think Sunday for me is a must-win game. We can't be getting draws at it, especially at home. Like I know we haven't got the home factor anymore, or the home mentality anymore. But you got to start somewhere. I think what better way to start getting yourself back into that form and get that level again by getting a big win in a derby? Because so that way you win the game. All right, it's not to say you're back, but it's a platform to build on towards Napoli and Arsenal, and you go from there. So I think it's massive, man. I think it's a huge game for us on Sunday.
No, because I'd say when we played Arsenal, Arsenal didn't play particularly well, but then they got the set piece goal, and then it's one of these games where Arsenal didn't need to score a second goal, and I think a lot of people questioned Arsenal after that match. People were giving Man United credit for going for it when we had to go for it. So I think if that goal doesn't go in, you see a very different game, and I'm just wondering whether with the City game, As I'm sure like you take a 1-0 City win right now. I mean, I'd take a 1-0 win for United right now. But if you did score early, do you think you'd go for a second goal? Because Arsenal definitely didn't, and it made Arsenal's performance look worse, I think, because people said, look, Arsenal didn't offer much. We offered a lot more, but again, we didn't have. We had to, and Arsenal didn't need to do anything. So I think sometimes people look at the Arsenal performance in a negative, whereas realistically, they didn't need to score a second goal. They needed to make sure they didn't concede a goal, and they did that. So it wasn't a great performance, but sometimes in these games you have to just do what it requires to get the 3 points and then move on, and that you'll play better next game.
No, I agree. I think that's how it should be for us anyway. I think it needs to be about going for it. 'Cause I think right now we've scored 5 goals in 3 games, and 3 of those goals are by Haaland. Well, one by Shirky, who's now injured, and another one by Reinders, who, by the way, I think is a very good signing for us. I think he'll be a very good player for us this season. I think people think, oh, he wasn't going to Tottenham, Brighton. Well, then again, if you watch the guy play, you can see the ability on the ball that he has. He's obviously a very talented player that will do a lot for us. But when the rest of the team isn't at it, like you need the whole team to be up for it. Like again, individual players are well and good to bail you out every now and again, but you can't do that all the time. You need everyone to be up for it on it. So I think Reinders will be a big player for us this season. I think he'll be a one to watch on Sunday anyway, as always. I think Shirky's not ideal. I think Shirky's still a young player, still developing anyway. Obviously, he's getting better. Obviously, with each season. I was playing for Leon last year. Obviously, we're playing for us. Obviously, he's shown a lot of quality already. I think from what I've seen so far. I think it's just we got to start sort of seeing a consistent team. I think, and I know this is hard when you got injuries, but having that spine of Donnarumma, obviously Diaz, Stavadio, Rodri, and obviously Foden or Haaland, like having that spine is so important. I think it's so yeah. A lot of it is down. Obviously, it's early days, but I think if we hadn't lost 2 games in a row, it wouldn't be so bad. But it's how it feels right now, anyway.
So, how do you feel about the goalkeeper situation? Because I saw this comment as well saying both got 2 new goalkeepers. It seems apparent that we're going to be playing. We're probably going to be using Bindier. I don't know if that's because I was going to say that Laman's coming to Manchester United. I think Monday was his first training session. His teammates only came back yesterday, so I think it might be a timing wise where there's just that hasn't had much time at the club. I can't remember when Donnarumma got signed. Like, how long's Donnarumma been like a City player? Is there more chance he starts?
It's a weird one because I mean, either way, I think either keeper starts. I think we're fine. I think both keepers are. I mean, Trafford's been proven already. Apart from the Tottenham game, that pass out against Brighton avoided pretty well, despite obviously being up against it with Brighton pressing second half. I think for us with keepers, it doesn't really matter. I think both of them are good enough easily to sort of deal with it anyway. I just think for me, it's more the defence I'm a bit more concerned with than actually the goalkeeper. I think having Donnarumma in goal obviously is great because he's a tall goalkeeper that can sort of stop obviously a bit more confidence in defence. But it wouldn't surprise me if he started Donnarumma, but also Trafford playing as well would also be a bit of a it would depend obviously on where he wants to go. Does he want consistency in terms of performances and and selection, or does he want to straight away start the new guy straight away? It's split down to where I think his head's at, but. If I was a betting man, I'd probably say it'd be a debut for new keeper anyway for Donnarumma Sunday.
I think you've got on it. I think for you, it's the decision of like you got one goalkeeper. I thought like Trafford did fine recently, but I think for Man United, it's more of a case of Man United fans don't want to see Bindier, so we want to see Lamman start. I was saying the same thing. I want to see him start. I think the press conference pretty much implied Bindier starting. I hope he's joking, but you never. I think that's going to happen. And I think it's just that maybe it's going to be one game where it's just a bit too soon. Give him a couple of training sessions, and then we can go again next week against Chelsea and see a new goalkeeper. But no, it's one of these things where when you sign new players, you want to see them play, don't you? And I think that's like for United, well, United in particular, because these new signings like Cunha, who is unfortunately injured, and Mbeumo, you just want to see them in the team because the reason we signed them was because our team was very poor. So that's probably like for us, it seems a bit more urgency to see these new players, but. No, it's one that's going to happen. That's why I think this game is. It's a shame it's so early because we haven't really had time to actually give a lot of these players a lot of games. So it would be maybe a bit risky with some of them.
There he is. Hello. All good, mate. All good.
Aye, all good.
Good. So that's good. Got all three of us now, which is good. So I did say it'd be about a bit long anyway. So I'm happy to that's good. So yeah, we were discussing the keep situation with Donnarumma and obviously as it Lamans who've United and that. So we I was wondering. I was asking you, do you think it'll be Trafford on Donnarumma starts on Sunday?
Initially, I said Trafford. I think, given the fact that Donnarumma has been able to get some training in, given the fact that he's currently the best goalkeeper on the planet, I think he has to start. Given the fact that we're on back-to-back losses, but by the way, like I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that Trafford is responsible for those losses. He was a part of the Tottenham loss. You know, it was his error which led to Tottenham's first goal or second goal. I think being 22 years old, growing up in City's academy, he understands the pressure of a Manchester derby. He understands just how heated it can get in a Manchester derby, and I don't necessarily think that that's a good thing. I think if you're an outsider coming in with, you know, tons of experience like Donnarumma has, I think he can take the emotion out of it, whereas I don't think that Trafford will be able to. I think Trafford would be, if we were to start Trafford, he would be too emotional for that kind of game. So personally, for me, I'd be starting Donnarumma.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably what I'd go with as well. I mean, I think now, obviously, if you don't obviously like, so how about Laban as well, obviously, and but Bayern, I think for me, I think it's you got obviously a new kick on the block, and obviously Lamans, and you've got Bayern who's been a bit hit and miss himself. So it's not obviously very clear for United right now. I see where they are in terms of the keepers, but. I understand where it's coming from earlier on, saying about Lamans being one to start. I get it. I think because especially with Bayern not being as good as he thinks anyway, give the new guy a start and see how he does. I think I get that, but I think I do agree. I think for me, Donnarumma for me is probably the one that can sort of come in there, running pressure and say, you know what, it is a big game, and I throw in big games, and I think I'm going to do a good job anyway. But
I would say though with Lamans, it's an interesting choice of goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Have I froze, by the way? Oh no.
Oh, a bit back like that.
It is an interesting choice of goalkeeper because you're asking. I mean, how old's Lamans? Like, he can't be much older than Trafford.
Like 23.
Yeah, so 23.
Yeah.
That the most experience that he's had at a football club is playing for Royal Antwerp. Like, to go from being the goalkeeper at Royal Antwerp to then being the effectively number one goalkeeper at Manchester United, like, that's kind of a dramatic jump. Like, yeah. And like I've said to you before, Luke, if you're an outfield player and you're young and you're getting used to a certain league and playing at a certain tempo, if you're an outfield player and you make a mistake, you've got 10 other players around you that can effectively recover the ball from your mistake. So if you make like a dodgy pass or you jump into a tackle when you shouldn't have and get skimmed, like, you've got other players around you that can get that ball back. If you make a mistake and you're a goalkeeper, the ball's in the back of the net. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So I guess with him, time will tell. I think they've taken a massive gamble in bringing him in. Personally, for me, out of the two choices, I would have because there was talk of obviously Emi Martinez. I think out of the
I
two
think it came down to
choices,
those two in the end. So I think there was that we were linked to probably, I know, about 10 goalkeepers over the summer. And I think Emi Martinez and Lammen seemed to be the two at the end that were the most likely. And this kind of divides everybody as well, because I think when you're looking at goalkeepers, Emi Martinez is about 32. But when you're talking about goalkeepers, that doesn't mean
that's
anything.
still
He could
quite
play for
young.
quite a long
Yeah.
time. So he could be good for 5, 6, 7. Anyway, it's not like a short-term deal. But I think there seems to be, it's definitely a gamble. And it seems to be very much data-driven gamble, where you look at it in terms of looking at the data in terms of what he's done. But again, the league he's playing in and the Premier League, it's for me, you're right. It's a gamble, because if you watch him playing for Royal Antwerp, I mean, who are they playing against? They're not playing against Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea. Okay, they're playing the level they're playing at. And you look at what he's done, like he might be exceptional in that league. But again, and again, the goalkeeper situation, it's a pressure situation. And at Manchester United, you're going to be heavily scrutinised. It is a gamble, and one where, I don't know, it's if you're looking at the situation we had where we had two goalkeepers not good enough, I was thinking ideally you need to replace Binder and you need to replace Onana. And you kind of need to get, for me, like you've got one goalkeeper that's a bit younger, up and coming, which could be Lamens, but you need that experience. That is one where, okay, people might not be keen on Emi Martinez, but you can't drop him in there and say he's going to be
Really well.
out of his depth. He's a World Cup winner. It's the same as like Donnarumma, who's played at the highest level. That's something that we don't have anymore.
He's also been the best goalkeeper. Technically, he's been the best goalkeeper in the world for 2 years running.
Yeah.
He's currently, as it stands, the best goalkeeper in the world, because he was the last one to win that award at the Ballon d'Or. So
trophy. Yeah, is it the Yashin trophy? Is it Yashin?
Yeah, it was same year that Rodri won the Ballon d'Or. He was, he was given the award for that. So technically, as it stands, he's still the best goalkeeper in the world. He was, in effect, out of contract at Villa. He said his goodbyes on the pitch. Like he waved to everyone, kissed goodbye to everyone.
I thought he was gone. It was strange. I thought, like the way that's the season ended, it seemed to be like, okay, he's off. But no, it's a strange one. That's why I don't know what to think, because if you talk to Manchester United fans about it, it's pretty much 50-50. And I think it's the same with any signing. Half the people will claim to have watched him regularly, which I don't know if I believe, because I think a lot of people, when these signings are linked to United, the first thing you do is like Google it, find where he plays for, and go, okay, right, fine. But I think generally people don't watch that league and don't know lots about him. People watch highlights and draw their conclusions.
He's also for Royal Antwerp. I've seen a compilation, and by no means am I, I don't take compilations as like, this is the be all or end all to how good this goalkeeper is. No, but I mean, the fact that I've seen quite, bearing in mind he's 23 years old, that's really young for a goalkeeper, really. I've seen him have some absolute howlers, and that's playing for Royal Antwerp. He does those same levels of mistakes at Man United, and he's game over.
Oh,
it's a gamble. I was there's like, in terms of like positives, good penalty saving record. I think it's like a data driven signing. If you look at the like things they assess goalkeepers by, I think he stood out in like Europe's top 10 leagues apparently. So I can't really comment too much, because again, we've got to see him play. But I know it's a gamble, isn't it? Because if you look at players linked to United, it's like Sesko's not a gamble, is it? Because we've scouted him for years. Quinion and Mbeumo aren't gambles, but Yoro might have been a bit of a gamble, although quite an expensive one. But I think he had a solid season in the French league, got into team of the season there. So it seems United are going for younger players. And when we start going younger and younger, and like 23, okay, it's not really young, but for a goalkeeper, it's pretty young. It starts being along the lines of where I think he cost 20 million, 21 million. So it's not huge money. I think a lot of fans are actually thinking that he's a potential long-term, maybe it's going to be first choice now, we'd assume, but it might be that United look to get another goalkeeper in January. So it might be that, again, we didn't get all the deals done we wanted to. It's I don't know, maybe in 10 games time we can actually have a conversation. I can go, yeah, good signing, or I might be thinking, right, okay, we need to definitely do something in January. So it could go either way.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. He's back now.
I'm not entirely sure what's happened there.
Right.
I think the mutants must have turned it off. It's one of your lot, Rich.
Yeah, I thought you froze, like it's like watching a Nana again, where you're just thinking, expecting movement and not getting anything.
Do you know what? Yeah, it was as soon as I was bigging up Emi Martinez, and as soon as I mentioned the mistakes and the howlers that these Lamans has got, bam, went off.
Yeah. Jim Layton, what else no playing? Yeah, but I just it's hard. I think the thing is, right, yeah, I think if you got in Martinez and Lamans, right, I think that's fine, because then you got someone who's experienced, and you got Lamans coming through who could be a cup keeper and maybe your game here and there. But the problem is, I think we all know it as well, right? This is the making of him, really. Like, because if he starts playing most of the games, that's a big step up from, like I said, from the Belgian Pro League to Premier League. Obviously, no Europe this season, but probably next year as well for him. It's a lot of pressure already, especially at United as well, where the pressure is to get back into Europe again, get back into a good level again. It's gonna be the making of him, because if he sinks, that's another goalkeeper that he brought in that didn't work out again. So it's all down now to how big his confidence is going to be in goal. It's a lot of pressure on him and Binder as well.
Yeah, I think Binder's gone as soon as we can find a place to sort of take him. I think he's gone, but no, yeah, it's a lot of pressure, isn't it? I think it's one where we're just gonna have to see and just hope that either we get lucky or whether we've actually made better decision. But yeah, it's a risky one where I think United fans are kind of divided or just unsure. But I think most people are looking at it thinking, well, at least maybe not against City, but in a few games' time we'll have a better idea of whether we've made a good signing or not. I don't know, but we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll ask you as well. Like, I mean, obviously, no Nori and Shirky. Apart from that, I think our squad's fully fit. But apart from that, I think I'm not sure if there's anyone else I'm missing at all. Maybe Stones is a doubt as well.
I don't think Varnell's been back in training, has he?
He is again. He's so
I heard he was back, but I heard it was light training.
Well, he hadn't. Well, Pep didn't say that he's out of the game, so I imagine he's in the squad then.
I've literally finished work, done what I need to do, and I've not seen.
That's all good, yeah. Right, Joe, I'll tell you. So basically, as far as we're aware, with the current squad, Nori won't play, I think, because he's not quite fully fit. I get that. I'd rather not risk him again. Just a 7 playing Arsenal, and don't overdo it too much on him. And Mamouche, obviously, Mamouche is himself about a month, I think, maybe less than that, depending on. So it's not too bad for Mamouche than I thought it was going to be. And I think
could still do without it, though. To be honest,
yeah, we could, but considering what we were seeing and what we could have been, I'll take it considering what it could have been. But so there's 3 players out right now. Maybe a doubt for Stones, but I think apart from that, we've got I think everyone's sort of fit and ready to go. I think so. It's
just like no one's surprised though about Stones. Like the guy's always injured.
This is a doubt. Oh, just like more than 3 games, John. More than 3 games. Just more than 3 games. And that's it. Honestly.
So effectively, the back line's probably going to look something along the lines of Gvardiol at left back if he's fit.
Yeah.
You probably, for me, I'd be saying Diaz and Husanov.
Yeah.
And then probably Rico Lewis at right back.
It's not ideal, but it's what we've got right now, isn't it? So it is what it is. I mean, the thing is, right? I mean, Rich, who obviously, with Cunha playing on Sunday, who's playing left wing then, or left midfield if you on Sunday?
Yeah, I think if you're looking at that one, we've been seeing say if you look at our midfield, if we're going to have, so it's been Casemiro and Bruno, and we've had maybe like Dalot and Dorgu, but I think there's potential that Mazraoui could come back. I think possibly a bit unlikely. I think people are looking at in terms of how we're going to be lining up front. If Cunha's out, then some people want to see Amad Diallo and some will run against your right back. But I think Bruno Fernandes maybe starts as a 10.
You could have Rashford back because Barca don't want him, do they?
Yeah, I think he might. I think that ship sailed. I think this is more. Well, there's probably an equal chance of Anthony playing. And I think United might look at. How do you feel about in terms of like your vulnerability at right back is something that fans were telling me, like City fans. I think United, for me, it's like, do we play Amajolo? Do we play? I think we might start Bruno Fernandes and Mbeumo in our 10s with Sesko up front. I mean, hopefully Sesko up front. But then maybe we're looking at Amajolo could do that job. I think there's like a few options, but unfortunately, they were playing quite well in terms of like the front three. Like Mason Mount was playing quite well this season, but he's injured, no surprise. And Cunha's picked up a knock, or I think he's out for. He's trying to get back, but I don't think he's going to be. Certainly not starting against you guys. But he's been one of the best signings. I think he will offer a bit of quality we haven't had in that position for years. So I don't know. There's a few people suggesting things they want to see happen, but I think that we'll probably set up defensively with options on the bench like we did against Arsenal. So I wouldn't be expecting us to go too attacking initially.
I don't think. I'm just going to be honest. I don't think our right back situation is bad as what people think. We're just not playing the player that we should be playing there at right back. For me, I'd personally be playing Husanov at right back. He's got great recovery pace. He's great aerially. He's good one-on-ones. So I personally think we should be playing Husanov at right back.
Yeah.
It's by far the best option we've got. But you know what Pep's like? He'd rather makeshift some left winger into a right back, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I'll be real, right? Like, it's not obviously ideal because obviously you want a right back who's actually out right back who's like Ain't Nori, but we didn't get one. It is what it is. You know, we have to go again in January to get one. But yeah, like for me with Nunez, right? I just don't think he's good enough right back. He does a right job going forward, but he's more of a winger than a right back anyway. He can't defend the level.
And every time he plays, he makes a bozo error on the pitch, which ultimately leads to us conceding a goal.
Yeah.
So, like, there has to come a point where it's like, sorry, we cannot play you at right back anymore.
No.
I would honestly, and I know how terrible this sounds, I would honestly prefer to play Calvin Phillips at right back than I would Nunez. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, I'm deadly serious about that.
I get
At
it.
least the guy's a better defender.
Yeah. I thought see today well I thought back in 2022 when we signed Phillips, I thought, yeah, what, one day in 3 years' time he'll be our right back. We wouldn't think so.
Hey, you don't know. Calvin Phillips, mate, could be the next Kyle Walker, I'm telling you.
Do you think sometimes like Pep's overthinking it then? Do you think like I saw something recently, and do you think Pep's under pressure? Because a few Man United fans think that it doesn't matter what happens with Pep, he'll never get sacked. But do you think is Pep under pressure if he loses 3 in a row? Because I'm not saying title race over, but it's going to make it. It's going to be one of the worst starts he's had in his career, isn't it, as a manager?
Well, I personally think if we have a season like what we had last season, I think he would probably walk away before he was ever sacked.
Yeah.
I think like Lendon in the summer. Is this contract up in the summer, or is it?
No, 2027.
Yeah,
2027. But the way he's talking at the moment, there's talk that he could potentially be extended. All angles seem to point that he's probably going to extend. But for what he's given to the football club, like, I don't think that you could ever sack him. Like, you know, they say like what Mourinho did for Chelsea. You know, Mourinho didn't win 6 out of 7 league titles. He didn't win a treble. Didn't get 100 points. Didn't win a domestic quad. Like, you're talking about a manager that has done the unthinkable time after time after time after time. Like, you know, the numbers that he put up with, And bearing in mind, like people forget, like people say, "Oh, yeah, but he's done this with money. He's a chatbot manager, this, that, and the other." He did it with Fabian Delph at left back.
Yeah.
He did it with Claudio Bravo in goal. Like, do you know what I mean? This guy, you look at, like, historically, Fergie broke the transfer record like God knows how many times. Did it with Rio Ferdinand, did it with Eric Cantona, did it,
Cantona didn't break a record. He was only 1 million.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, who was he done? There was a list. He'd done it like.
I think there was something that was talked about a lot. I think United broke the transfer record, but they didn't buy loads of. If you look at the 90s expenditure, I think Man United's about 9th from that list. So okay, they weren't. I think most teams had to spend a lot. I think Newcastle spent loads but didn't win anything. Liverpool spent a lot but didn't win anything. Arsenal spent quite a lot. I think United they broke the transfer record, which fair enough they did, but I don't think they bought. When you look at the Rio Ferdinand signing, that's like one signing. Whereas transfer window wise, United we didn't buy lots of players because we got lucky with Academy brought a lot of the success through that's quite cheap, but we kind of bought the players we needed that fitted the gaps. So when we needed a striker, let's say actually 99, we bought Jaap Stam because we needed a defender or Dwight York, but we didn't buy lots of players most seasons. I think the most high profile one was probably Andy Cole.
You're right.
But then
are you ready for this? He's broke the British record 5 times.
Yeah.
Roy Keane, Andy Cole, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Sebastian Veron, and Rio Ferdinand. So I know what you're saying, like they're not the same levels of money, but with inflation.
No, but what I mean is that over 10 years in the 90s, United they're like the 9th highest spender, and they won how many titles? Like most years they won it. So it's like if you adjust for inflation, I think Chelsea have spent the most. Like the 2 seasons were the most. If you go down that route of adjusted for inflation, I think go 3 or 4 or 4 or 5. Chelsea, that's the 2 most expensive signings in Premier League history. But I think with United, if you look at that, like Veron was an expensive signing, but we sold him to Chelsea for most of the money back. I think we sold Van Nistelrooy for the vast majority of the money back. And with this one, Peter Schmeichel was 600k. Eric Cantona was 1 million. I think Roy Keane was about 3 million. And I think that the transfer fees that went up massively from that. So breaking the record then was like 2 or 3 million pounds. And then very quickly it became like 5-10 million. But regarding this one, United, how much did Scholes cost? Like 0, Giggs 0, Beckham 0, Gary Neville, Phil Neville, but 0. So we got fortunate. Our academy had players were good enough to play for 20 years. But no,
you took it from our academy.
What? Giggs, yeah, Ryan Giggs, yeah, definitely. And to keep up.
No, but the point I'm trying to make is this isn't to throw shade at anyone. The point I'm trying to make from this is people talk like, oh, but City have done it through spending money and this, that, and the other. Like, we've broke the British transfer record once. For if realistically, if you look at the transfers that we've made, I can list a few. Buying Zinchenko for like 1.2 million and selling him to Chelsea for 40 million. Like, selling him to Arsenal for 40 million. Like, City have spent money, but they've also sold a lot of players. Like, if you want to win, you have to spend money. But there's this crazy sort of thing that people think that the only reason that City have won things is because we've spent money. If you look over the last 5 years, United have spent more than City. Arsenal have spent more than City. Chelsea has spent more than City. Like, Liverpool have spent more than City. Like, you look at like all that, like, United haven't won league titles. Chelsea have won one league title in like the last 10 years. Like, it's not just about spending money, but it's about spending the money wisely. Like, under Pep in the last 10 years, we've made over $1 billion just in academy sales alone. Like, that's $1 billion straight up profit. So people talk like, oh, City spend money, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but we also make money. Like, we make more money than what we spend. But, people, I mean, it's not been as bad sort of this transfer window, because obviously, Liverpool have been spending money, like it's sweeties. But the point I'm trying to make is people justify like saying, oh yeah, but we've done it because of this and we've done it because of that, and we haven't spent money, and we're like, yeah, you have. Like, if you want to win things, you have to spend money.
Yep.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Exactly. Unless you're like a Leicester and perform some kind of like miracle, but even they spent money to win the league.
I think Leicester got lucky, didn't they? Leicester bought Mahrez quite cheap, Jamie Vardy quite cheap, and Kante. They weren't academy players, were they? So you got to spend, but you got to need a bit of luck. And I think the difference is probably going to be that some teams have just spent more, but also Manchester United spent money. But let's be realistic. This isn't necessarily down to the managers. Manchester United have been run quite badly for a long time, and it's not the manager's fault that sometimes they sign awful players or they spend too much.
Can I raise a point with you actually on this? Because I've got an opinion and I've got a view, and I want to get it from a United fan side.
Yeah, I don't represent all Man United fans, but I'll say what I think.
I don't think the players that you've brought in are necessarily bad players, because you look at what they've gone on to do. Like, you look at Angel Di Maria, he was awful at United.
He didn't want to be in the Premier League, though.
He was great, and after United, he's been great. Look at Antony. Before he joined United, he was good. After he's left United and gone to Real Sociedad, he's been great. I personally think it doesn't matter who you bring in. Like, the environment of that club is just so toxic that people just can't perform. And personally, I don't. You could bring in Lionel Messi, and I think he'd look bang average. Like, to be honest, I don't necessarily think it's the players that you bring in. I think it's the environment that they're brought into that's the problem.
Okay, with like Di Maria, I think Di Maria got homesick and wanted to leave. I don't think that's like a Man United thing. That's just he wanted to leave quite quickly, and so I wasn't really.
No, but I'm using him as an example. Like, you look at
as an example. If you saw Antony and Antony playing in the Rivederci, I don't watch Ajax when he played for them, but people said he played well. I think the Premier League was too difficult for Antony. If you put Antony in Real Betis, he put in great performances in Europa League, and they got to the final. If you watched Antony versus Chelsea in that final, he was useless. If you watch the match, he literally got pocketed by Cucurella, did nothing in that match because the level's different. Like, he wasn't good enough for the Premier League. Like, I think Antony's a very good player in Spain. You put him in the Premier League, it didn't work out at all. You saw Sancho come to Manchester United after 2 good seasons in Germany, useless. You saw him play for Chelsea, not great. They didn't want him. They paid us to they had him on a loan of obligation to buy. They paid us money not to have him. So I think we got unlucky with let's say unlucky that we signed the wrong players. But Antony didn't suit the Premier League. Sancho didn't. I think Yor is an example of a player that looks really good. He's a good signing. And I think if you look recently, De Ligt looks a good player as well. He was a good signing. I think we've made better signings recently. I look at Mbeumo then, like a low-risk signing, and Mbeumo playing really well for Brentford. You drop him in Manchester United's team, he looks like one of our best players. I think we're finally actually realising that signing players, also changing the atmosphere. Like, some of the problems with the atmosphere is actually down to some of the players themselves. And Ruben Amorim's come in, and we've seen like kind of quite a brutal regime where Rashford, Sancho, Garnacho, Antony, these players are gone. He came in, and before about 2 weeks had gone, and these players were frozen out. This didn't make us better because these players we didn't have any replacements, but we've frozen them out in terms of like trying to make things better long term. We've got players that are either, like, say, for Rashford or Sancho or Antony, players that don't really want to contribute to what we're going in terms of like trying to win trophies, trying to improve, and players that are unprofessional. And it's not necessarily things that you can see. It's sometimes behind the scenes in terms of turning up late for training and doing other things. There's things that are detrimental to the club that you don't see on the pitch, and these players are being moved out. So it's going to take a bit of time. And I agree, like the atmosphere around the club, in terms of the work environment, sometimes you have a work environment where one or two people bring it down, don't you? And it makes it more difficult. And I think what United try and do is, for the first time in about a decade, they have a manager that's come in, or head coach as he is, come in and said, look, these are the problems. And for the first time, we've actually got people that listen and go, actually, we do need to move some of these players on. And that's why it's difficult to get transfer fees for them, for the same reasons. Like you were saying, like, Barcelona don't want Rashford. Well, the problem is Manchester United have got these players under contract. And for the next year or two, we've got this issue to try and move them out. But that's the only way we're going to actually get back to where we want to be in any sort of shape or form. Because, like you said, I do agree with your point, Bevo, that when we sign players in the future, they need to come into a better environment. That if we sign a player, or a player comes through the academy, they need to come into a functioning team, not players that are unprofessional, that are essentially really bad role models in terms of professionalism. And that kind of culture shift is going to take a little bit of time. And I think that's why some fans like myself are here for the long term and think, okay, it's not going to happen overnight. So largely short-term results are important, but long-term, in terms of like Lamans is like a risky signing, but it's what we're doing in the future. It's like we're actually taking more long-term decisions rather than going, let's get Casemiro in. He used to be good. Let's get Varane, because these players are, they're past their best, aren't they?
This is the point I was trying to make. Like you brought in like Varane, who when you signed him, you can't say that he wasn't at the top of his game, because they just won a Champions League at Real Madrid.
No, that's an injury issue though. That's something that he had a long
come
time.
on,
He left United and got injured straight away and retired.
Casemiro, you signed him for like 70 million. Like,
yeah, that's not a good signing.
The guy was like 30 years old. Like, these are ridiculous signings that you're bringing in. Like, Casemiro, one of the best known CDMs in world football, just off the back of winning another Champions League with Real Madrid. And, he's come into this United team, and he looked a shadow of his former self. Like, and you could say, oh, it was an age thing or whatever, but not from one season. No. Like, the problem seems to be,
it's a bad signing though, isn't it? Casemiro's a bad signing.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he's a bad signing.
I just think that it doesn't matter who you bring in, or in the past. I don't know about now, because I'm not someone that follows United. But the fact
what I say is, like, I think every point you make, I agree with all your points, but I think you draw a line when Ineos came in, because I think last summer transfer window, from that summer transfer window onwards, we've seen a shift. We haven't been buying players that, I think the oldest player we bought was Mazraoui at 27, and he only cost about 10, 12 million. And that's the oldest player we bought since then. And the other players, like, say, De Ligt, and Mbeumo, Cunha, are mid, like, 25-year-olds, and everyone else we bought is younger. So we've made bad decisions, like you said, like all these players you list, bad signings, but that's something we've done for a long time. So it's going to take a while, but it's the same as like when City first got taken over. Your first signings, like you bring in Bebeto, you bring in Joe. It takes a while, doesn't it? There's not one transfer window doesn't change your squad. So we're seeing that, unfortunately, when you make deals that are so bad, like an Antony deal, and you give effectively a 20, 25 million pound player, you spend 70 million for him, and you give him like a ridiculous contract. You've caused problems because you can't sell this player for that sort of price. So these are really bad signings. But the last 18 months, Manchester United have made better signings. But unfortunately, well, for us, good for you, but bad for us. It's going to take a while for these bad signings to kind of filter through. But the new signings are on like less than half the money. Like Sancho, for a young player, was getting paid over 300k, and we're paying Mbeumo and Cunha half of that. So this is like the problems we made and the signings we made. They're so bad in terms of the quality of the player, but financially, like you said, you spend lots of money. We spent lots of money, 100%. But we spent it so badly. Like, how can you give Sancho over 300k, and then for 4 years you've got to pay that salary? You loan him out twice. It's just a bad deal, isn't it? And Sancho's not going to walk. He's getting paid an astronomical amount of money. So we bring in, I think, say Dorgu came in 30k. We bring in Cunha and Mbeumo 150k. Like, so it's going to take time, but unfortunately, for us, we made so many bad decisions. I think the people that made the decisions are no longer at the club for us. So yeah, hopefully things will get better for us. But you can see, like, I agree with you. We created an environment where we threw money at the problem, and basically we had idiots making the decisions. That's all I can say. Like, we threw money at it without actually making more sensible decisions.
And I've got another question for you, kind of off the back of that, and we're talking about sort of wasting money. Taking off your United hat, and I know it's going to be difficult for you to answer this one without wearing your United hat.
I'm well known for my biasness to it, but yeah, I'll try.
The latest kind of news circulating around United is that because you're not in Europe this season, you're going to be playing a lot of real lucrative friendlies, which is going to boost the club financially. Taking your United hat off, and I'm sure you're probably all in agreement for, like, yeah, let's play these friendlies because it'll give us lots of money. But if that was City, right, or anyone else, I'm using City as an example because I'm a City fan. If that was City, we would be getting scrutinised to high hell by United fans, because it's like, do you know what I mean? It's kind of giving people like a team like yourself an unfair financial advantage. Because if you look at sort of other teams that aren't in Europe this season, maybe the likes of like a Fulham or someone like that, they're not playing these lucrative friendlies. So, which I'm sure probably the club wants to do. Because I'm pretty sure that if it gives the club more money to spend, like, surely they, teams like Fulham and Forest and all, maybe not Forest because they're in Europe, but all these other teams, I think it gives United a bit of an unfair advantage financially, because it's something which other clubs can't do, and I think. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think actually a good question as well, because I did put this when I was doing the stream today. I did like before the stream, I did one of my own where it was like a news-based thing. So I did a City preview yesterday. So I did a couple of stories about the recent signings or signings where players were linked to actually contract extensions for some players. And one of the stories I covered was this story saying Manchester United might do this. So I put a poll in the comments as well. I think most fans are they're quite divided on this. So I don't think Manchester United fans agree either on like whether they think it's a good idea or a bad idea. Because I think there's when you have this precedent of like Barcelona playing away, I think
imagine the scrutiny that City fans would be getting right now if we weren't in Europe and it was coming out that we were going to be playing these lucrative friendlies.
No, I think some people that think it's a good idea talk about the Club World Cup where Chelsea made a lot of money, and they look at this and go, right, well, this is a question I ask people, saying, look, for Manchester United, the most important thing for me is Manchester United trying to finish as high up the league as possible to try and qualify for European competition, try and get in the Champions League, and if we can't get in the Champions League, we get Europa League and just work our way up from there. And if playing these pre-season or these mid-season friendlies means that it hits our league form, because there's a lot of travel, and I was saying, for me, my initial reaction was I'm not particularly keen on it because of the reasons where I think we've reduced our squad somewhat in terms of a lot of players left in the summer, a lot of players on expiring contracts. We didn't bring in lots of players, and at the time, Ruben Amorim was saying, "Look, we haven't got Europe. I'd rather get a small squad, and we'd rather have a set 11 that plays most weeks and a set players that are on the bench than just have a smallish squad." The idea is that you'd have to expand this when we get European football. I think the friendly thing seems to be, again, I was generally not in favour of it, but I can see. Do I want to see Mbeumo and Cunha flying somewhere midweek and potentially getting injured and then coming back on the weekend to play against Chelsea? I think generally, does it set a worrying precedent as well, where if this happens for Man United or other teams going to do it, is it going to become a regular thing where every team's like flying around the world? And how soon is it before they go, right, the Saudi would like to see Man United play Man City, and play that fixture abroad, because Barcelona played that game abroad, got a lot of money, and I think when you start looking at games being played out of the country, like domestic league games, I don't think any fan in the UK is in favour of that. I mean, if you live where they're going to play, possibly, but no, I think it opens up like a
I would
worrying conversation.
I would argue and say that if they wanted to play some Premier League games over in America, I would be fine with that, providing that they're happy to do away with the 3 p.m. blackout on Saturdays. I think that's a fair compromise. Because over in America they can watch every
You can watch
single
any game, can't you? And it costs
yeah,
almost
without
nothing to
a
watch.
blackout. So I feel like, granted, I am against it. Like, I don't want to see Premier League games played abroad, because I think players already have enough travel and enough games at the moment as it is. You know, if you qualify for the things that you're in, you're talking upwards of 64, 65 games a season, and that's just at club level. That's not including internationally. So realistically, some of these players are playing 80 games a season. If you're talking about, you know, the games that they're playing for their countries as well. And there's a lot of travel with that as well. These players must be knackered. Now, I know you can say, oh yeah, but I'd be tired for 150 grand a week. Yeah, damn right I would. But that's the reason why you're seeing so many of these players now.
Yeah, the thing is though that football's more athletic than it used to be. There's a lot, but again,
there's also a lot of injuries because of it as well,
yeah.
Rich.
No matter how much you get paid, though, it doesn't make you less injury prone. Like, you don't go, right, here's an extra 100K a week. Can you avoid getting a cruciate injury, please? And there's nothing you can do about it. If you play too much football, eventually you will get injuries. Like, it's like there's definitely like some stats regarding, like, say, NBA, which I do follow. Say the players starting younger and younger in that competition, they don't have longer careers. They get injured more, and they just have more issues, like, because it puts more stress on the body. I think with this one, why not just have a competition maybe in a season where there's not the European, say, the World Cup, and there's not European competitions. Why not have a little tournament then? Why do this like kind of mid-season thing, which I don't think is ideal, because you've got extra travel. Why not just go somewhere like they do, like a pre-season competition like we had? We played a little tournament. I think United played a few Premier League clubs this summer. Because I don't know, it just feels a bit like they're trying to add more and more football and just hoping that the quality's not going to be there if you're doing that. Like, who wants to? I don't know. Do you want to watch Man United play again, or do you want to watch Manchester City play somewhere at like 4 a.m, where and then they have to fly back and play? I don't know, like a European match midweek. It's
the other thing is as well is, these players that are getting injured, they're not even old players. Like, a lot, you look at a lot of these players that are picking up injuries. Like, I can only talk from City's perspective, but the players that are picking up injuries are quite young. Like, you're looking at Phil Foden. He's supposed to be going into his prime. Like, he barely played any minutes towards the back end of last season. He's barely played any minutes this season, like, through injury. Like, you're going to see the way things are going. You're going to see a lot of, players retiring just as they're getting to their peak. Their peak is, at the moment, you look at where someone hits their peak in football. You're talking like what, 27, 28 is like when they're at the peak of their football. That's probably in the next 4, 5, 10 years, however long it'll be. That'll be the age that these players are having to retire, because their bodies just can't cope with the amount of games that they're playing. Especially if you're playing at the highest of levels, like, playing for City, or, I'm not going to say United because you ain't in Europe, but like, when you eventually get back into Europe and you're playing 64, 65 games a season, and then these players are having to then go off with...
what did you think then when the Europa League and the Champions League got extended to extra games? Were you thinking? Because I was thinking, oh great, there's more games to go through before you actually get to knockout stage. It just seems like these competitions have become longer and longer. Like, you've got like 8 group games now instead it used to be 6.
Well,
And
yeah,
then
and
you've got
then
a playoff
James,
match as well.
to add to that as well, they're looking at doing the Super Cup as a mini league. Like,
just-
do you know what I mean?
The thing is, though, it's like for me, it just feels a bit. One thing I did like, I thought, okay, if you're going to play 6 group games, I kind of like the idea against playing different teams rather than playing 3 teams home and away. But 8 games, then a playoff game if you don't finish in the top 8 is, for me, it's just too many games. Like, there's too many meaningless games in Europe until you get to the knockout stage.
And then when you look at it as well, before we even hit December, like from the start of the season in September, by the time we get to just late August, wasn't it? But either way, by the time it gets to December, not only will they have played all games for their clubs, they'll have also played 6 games minimum for country as well.
Exactly. We're on a conversation today where we're talking about players getting injured on international duty, and that is frustrating, isn't it? Because we were kind of we had a conversation as Man United fans about maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago, saying, "Oh, actually, most of our squad's fit," and then suddenly you've got players missing, and they've not even played for United. It's quite frustrating.
Yeah, it's just honestly, right. It's the fact that like last season, right? Usually we'll like 6 games, in the group stages. Not that last 16 we make it through. Now we've got 8 games. You have to play guaranteed to play, and if you're not in the top 8, in top 24, you have to play like what is it? 2 more games after that. So you're playing 4 extra games if you get all the way. So was what 8, 10, like 60, 17 games, something maybe 18 games to play. Like,
and there you're just talking about Champions League. You've then got 38 Premier League games. Then if you eventually win the Champions League, you've then got the Super Cup, which is going to be, I think, 4 games. You've then got the the Club World Cup when that does, if it's a Club World Cup year, you're then looking at more games in the Club World Cup. You could be looking upwards of like 90 games a season for some of these players. If you're like a Rodri, for example, which is pivotal to Man City's play and for Spain, he's in effect going to be playing every game for Spain, every game for City. He could be playing 90 games a season. No wonder the guy's going to be retiring before he hits 30. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's got ridiculous. It's like got ridiculous, isn't it? That when Man United talking about that, I was thinking, okay, right, we're going to spend every weekend actually, fresh. We're going to see the team have plenty of time to prepare. And then I see a story today saying, "Oh, Man United, I might be flying around the world to play random friendlies." I was just thinking, okay, right. I'm not surprised because it's all about money, isn't it? But I'm just thinking that you made a good point exactly because I've only just seen the story a couple of hours ago. But other teams and other owners will be thinking, hang on a minute, we want a piece of this action. Like apparently we might play AC Milan. So there's like teams around Europe that might, and that's why I was saying it sets the precedent, doesn't it? If teams around the world, I mean, surely these other countries like got their own teams that they're watching. Do they want to watch a friendly instead? It's
This in effect, Rich, is really no different to what they were proposing for the Super League. Yes, it's not a league, but what it is it's additional games for teams to play, which makes them lucrative amounts of money. Now, when you're looking at the likes of a Fulham or a Sunderland or someone like that who still all play in the Premier League, or a Burnley, they're looking at this and going, this is giving them an unfair advantage because they're not in Europe, but they're in effect flying around the world and getting stupid amounts of money. So in effect, being rewarded for not playing in a European competition. I just think that if this was a city, that the outrage across social would be it'd be all over Sky Sports News right now. oh, City are cheating again because they're doing this and they're going all over the world and playing these lucrative friendlies, which gives them an unfair advantage on other teams. Like it would be everywhere. Do you know what I mean? I just think that it's not okay to have one rule for one and not for another.
But also as well, right? It's yet again, right? Like these players are getting thrown into deep end again because it's all for money. Again, so what matters more than what the club's bank balance is, or Sky Sports bank balance is, or the players' welfare, health? Because these players, by the way, like I'm sorry, but the amount of injuries that happen now, like MCL injuries, ACL injuries, they're having a lot more now than they ever used to. Do you remember when that kind of injury wasn't rare, but it happened every now and again? Now it's happening quite a lot now.
Yeah.
And it's like it's because they're getting run to the ground. These players, like Rodri, like was it meniscus and ACL together in one go? Like that was, which is, by the way, probably the most injury you probably get, out of all the injuries you probably get in football. Like it's so much pressure on these players, and especially the young ones. Like Yamal, what is like 18 now? What is it? 100 games already at 18 for Barcelona? That's insane.
Well, you only had to look back a few years ago when you had Pedri. You know, when he was breaking through the ranks in Barcelona's team, he played stupid amounts of games. I think he played every single in his first season, first proper season when he broke through into Barcelona's team. He'd played every single game for Barcelona that season, played for Spain, and then played in the Olympics for Spain as well. And you saw a picture of him from game one, week one, to the game after he'd been playing in the Olympics, and he looked like he was running on fumes. Like,
I think for some people are just like insane athletes and can handle it, but for the most like normal people that effectively football is their job, they train hard for it. It's just too much, isn't it? I think that you see that it doesn't make for better quality. I think that
no.
sometimes less is more, and that there's too much football that you start seeing a drop off. And I think with the Europa League, I just watched a lot of low quality games. Okay, admittedly, Man United were contributing towards the quality in some matches, but there's a lot of low quality games I had to endure before it got to the fun games. And I've saw the same with like, for me, the Champions League gets going when it's knockout football, because if you're playing like the 6th game out of 8 and it lacks, and now there's got to be some. If you're watching football, there's got to be something at stake, isn't there? And if there isn't in some of the group games, they became a bit meaningless. Where I knew that most of the Premier League teams would get through fine, and you know that most of the crap teams are going to get knocked out. I think it just needs to there's some kind of playing extra games for the sake of raising money, which is what it is. I think the problem is that every club's chasing the cash, aren't they? And like you said, it's not necessarily about spending the most money, but you have to spend money. And I think this is where United's friendly games is coming from. It's why the Club World Cup's the thing that people like go there to play it to get money, and that's why the Champions League is too big, like as in terms of too many games. But I don't see the trend changing. That's the problem.
Well, a good friend of mine, LB, I go on his panel shows quite a lot. He made a really good point last year, and it was to do with Bernardo Silva. Now, Bernardo Silva, I think, was like 28, 29 when he made this statement. But because Bernardo Silva, for years and years and years at City, got hammed out every single game, like pretty much for 90 minutes every single game. The analogy that he used for it, and I completely agree with it, and I've kind of nicked it off him, so if he's watching, apologies for that. But, I mean, I will credit him for it. But it's in effect like buying a car, like buying a newish car and then doing 100,000 miles in it for like 5-6 years. It's not going to perform the same as if you were doing 20,000 miles a year in it. You know, it's in effect, a new car with like 300,000-400,000 miles on the clock. It's not going to perform as well as, the same car with only maybe 50,000-60,000 miles on the clock. And that's so true. Like, you look at the quality of some of these players now. Right, me and Luke were actually having a discussion when Luke came to mine a few weeks ago, I said, you go back 20 years in football when there was nowhere near as many games as what there is now, with internationals and everything else. I could name you, and I think part of it is to do with this, but it's also partly a talent drought as well. I could name you 20 years ago, like some absolute. I could name you at least 10 players that you would consider right now to have been world class. You're looking at the Ronaldinhos of this world, R9s, Nestas, Xavis, Iniestas. The list is endless. Cafu. There is so many absolute elite of elite footballers, which will go down as having like legendary status. Like right now, I couldn't even name you 5 that were even close to being the same levels. And I could literally list maybe 20, 30 players from 20 years ago. And I couldn't even name you 5 now that even come close.
And what it is, mate, it's because to me, right, football is being forced now. It's like the amount of games that are being forced on these players now. Like they don't even give any time to relax, any time to sort of gather their talent and build up for it. Like this World Cup in America, by the way, in the next summer, the heat over there as well compared to over in Europe is so different as well. A different time zone. Is it straight after season ends as well? Like next, it's going to.
Do you remember the '94 World Cup? Do you remember the '94 World Cup? Or maybe Luke won't, but Bevo will. Where they had that extra breaks because it was like some of the stadiums, it was like 40 degrees. I think it's where who was the Irish manager? He kind of lost it with his bottle because he couldn't open it. But there was So the thing with this one, it's one of these things, isn't it? It's like there's a reason why loads of World Cups from like when the World Cup first started through to like recent-ish times, it was usually almost impossible for European teams to win the World Cup because of the temperature. And it's difficult, isn't it? And if you look at South American qualifying, there's some teams that because of altitude they always win their home games because they're like 8,000 feet up. I think this one it's that. It's not ideal, and I think there's just sometimes the conditions aren't there for optimal football. But no, I saw someone saying in the comments, "What City 5-1?" Come on, guys, like we're in bad, but we're not that
bad. Come on, we'll go 5-1. I love that.
I'm not taking any less than 8.
One goal be enough. One goal, please. Score some goals.
Yeah, I think everyone would take. I'd take any sort of win now. Like I've said that. I would say if I want to win, but if we got a draw, I wouldn't be gutted.
But mate, honestly, you're right. But going back to the World Cup, then, like the World Cup, right? Like, and was it in Qatar as well?
I used to love the World Cup. I think it's not the pinnacle of football though. That's the difference than it used to be.
It's great seeing all these teams. I like seeing teams like Uzbekistan, Jordan get a chance. It's great seeing them in there. But the problem is, right, more teams equals more games to play. I think there's even more games to play. Like probably what is that? Around 32, probably around 32, around 16, probably. It gets that bigger. So it's more games to have to play again. And this is the thing. And then after like, you got what, like a Euro as well in the next 2 years as well. Probably another. Is it? You remember that? Is it that tournament called the Confederations Cup? You remember it at all? Like it's like a tournament internationally where like certain teams played together in like a tournament before the World Cup started. Is it by the host and that? And but I'll show you on the chat note. But it used to be like a tournament. It used to play like every like 2 or 3 years on that before the World Cup. But even then, like is it you got like a Nations League for? Why is there a Nations League? Why? Why is there yet another tournament that no one needs in the first place? Money. It's money before health, isn't it? Money before health. And this is where it's going. Like, and unfortunately, I just can't see this changing until something bad happens. But even then, we'll have to change.
No, because the thing is, the way that these like organizations see it is they rely on people like on teams like City to continue churning out the best possible talents. You know, you could name a starting 11 of players that have come through the City's academy, which, you know, like Elise and Frimpong and Delap and all these different players, they rely on teams like City and Barcelona with La Masia to keep trying to produce the best talents, because footballers are deemed as being replaceable now. Whereas you go back like 20 years ago, like no one could touch Ronaldinho. Like Ronaldinho's like my favorite player of all time. Like the things that he could do with the football is ridiculous. Like, and that's just one name. You know, you can look at Maldini, Iniesta, Pirlo, Nesta, Xavi, you know, Iniesta. Like the list, R9. Like these are literal icons of football, and they were like worshipped like gods. Whereas now, it's like, oh, we'll just continue playing more games, and you can just.
Do you think sometimes like for whatever reason it is, like some of these players were more, like I said, like Ronaldinho for me. If you talk about Ronaldinho, you have to watch him play, don't you? If you try and look at highlights or stats, it doesn't give you the full story. He was just like for a lot of people, one of people's favorite players, and I think R9 was possibly like the best player in the world, unmatched for years. I think depending on your age, you might have grown up just wanting to be Ronaldo because he was like everybody's favorite player. Whereas we're kind of lucky recently, we've had like a Messi Ronaldo situation, but I think for Ronaldo there was no one to compare. Do you think that maybe now the like kind of more players are forced through? So I think there's lots of very good players, but is there as many players that stand out as being like maybe unique or different? Because I think
this
for
is
me,
what I was
there's a
trying
bit
to
of
say
repetition.
before, Rich. This is what I was trying to say before. I could name like 20 players from 20 years ago and say like they are like the elite of the elite. You know, I didn't even name like players like Cafu and Rivaldo and players like that. Like, there's so many.
Shevchenko.
That's what I mean. There's
Luciano,
so many.
Crespo, there's some good striking like that, man.
There's so many. Whereas now, I couldn't even name you 5. Who would you say right now? You go Yamal.
Haaland,
You know,
probably.
people would probably put Bellingham in that list. I don't agree with that. I don't think.
I think it doesn't stand out there, does he? I think for this one, if you look at maybe when you won, there was a season where Haaland was like unplayable, like where he was literally unplayable. I can't remember which season it was, but I think that we haven't seen it consistently from lots of players.
Weird. Yeah.
No, it's difficult because people tell me Isak's like amazing. I don't know. I just don't see it. Well, 20 goals, considering that people said Harry Kane's crap and he gets 30 goals, and then people seem to forget of like Alan Shearer got more than that, and Andy Cole's got more. I don't know. It feels like we used to be. We're now, if someone scores 20 goals, they're like world-class player. I mean, that used to be, we'd had about 10 people that scored that many goals, and they scored better goals as well. I don't know.
Rich,
I agree. Like if you're looking at like the list now of like the elite, like I'm not just talking about now. I'll include like maybe like the last sort of 5 years. Because obviously, you know, the players that we were talking about, like Ronaldinho, like they were doing it for about 5-10 years, something like that. So let's do the same now. You've got Yamal, who's like breaking through. You'd probably put him somewhat in that bracket. Mbappe, not as an actual footballer, but you'd have to put Erling Haaland in for the sake of the fact that he basically for his entire career has scored a goal a game. And then, you know, so you've got Yamal, Mbappe, Haaland. But then after that, really, you kind of sort of like having to do some digging and being like, oh, well, maybe you'd include Bellingham in that. Like, these are all like, you know, maybe you'd include Pedri in that. Like,
the other thing about Bellingham is, like, when you watch Bellingham and say in the Euros, Like, is there any games where you think, oh, Bellingham was like top quality now? It's difficult to pick ones out. Whereas in the past, you'd look at some players and say, depending on your age, you might have seen Van Basten go outrageous talent, just wins game on his own, or like you see Shevchenko, or you're watching players where you think, oh, okay, like certain players in
Elise, I
their
like
peak
Elise.
are just dominant.
I like Elise, but not quite yet. I think a couple more years, I'd say yes.
I think they're like all these players listed, they're really good.
This is
But
what
do
I
you look
mean,
at them
though.
and think,
We're
like,
scratching around for players. It's
Well,
like, oh, Elise, like, yeah, I get what they're saying, but like, he ain't on par with the likes of like R9, Ronaldinho, you know, Iniesta, Xavi, Cafu, you know, like
David
the
Silva
list
as well.
was crazy.
David Silva, yeah. I mean, yeah.
you got the feeling that Ronaldinho doesn't always care about. Now, if he didn't really always have the focus about it. For him, it's like half entertainment, half winning, wasn't it? So I remember. Do you remember that goal he scored against Chelsea? Where
Yes.
he took it, and I was watching that live and just thinking, I didn't even see him kick the ball. The ball's just in the back of the net, and it's just like I think it's like either a free kick or edge of the box or something. But you
Outside
just
the
like thinking, go, what? Do you remember that though? I watched it on replay and just think, where does he kick it? Like you don't see his legs move; the ball just flies in. It's
He was a talented player. If he had the mentality of a winner, he probably would have won a
yeah.
lot
If he was
more.
driven, he might be different. But I don't think he cared. I think he was like good enough
A
to
party
like.
guy. He's a party guy. Really, he's always at parties, that kind of stuff. But the skill the guy had, though, like the skills on display, and like just the way he did it, right, was so casual. Like Neymar obviously was obviously still playing. He was a talented player at Barcelona and Santos. Like he was one of the best players I think I've watched come out of Brazil probably in my lifetime, probably. I know I've Ronaldinho,
But
but like,
again, for me, Neymar, Suarez, that's another era. Like, you know, if you take football from 20 years ago to now, you can see the decline. Like you can see the amount of talent going from being 30 that you could easily put in the elite list. Then it goes like down to 8, down to 15, then down to 10, then down to 5.
It's recently, okay, just to mention that in terms of like elite, this is not elite, but McTominay goes to Napoli from Manchester United, who, okay, for Manchester United's last season, McTominay, I think he scored like about 15, 16 goals for us. He goes to Napoli, scores about the same amount of goals, and he's on like the Ballon d'Or shortlist. And I was thinking, come on, guys. I mean, it's like it's a slow year, isn't it, when McTominay's on the Ballon d'Or? Like, I'm not saying he's not had a good season, but it's like, let's be realistic. He's one where, and again, like in terms of someone was saying about international, someone in the comments actually mentioned something about how many games you play as an international career. People are playing so many more games because the competitions are so more convoluted, like lengthened, that people getting like someone like Harry Kane will break the England goal scoring record and get. He's not the best England striker in history, but people will look at it and I think they overrate some players, thinking, oh, he's got more goals than any other player because he's played like about 200 games. That's why there's so many, and it's because he's like played San Marino about 50 times. It's just that I think people are getting stats don't tell a full story, do they?
I like Harry Kane. I really rate him, but yeah, I get what you mean. I mean,
I think Harry Kane's very good. Maybe that's a bad example, but there'll be some players that play just a huge amount of games, and it's just that longevity rather than like top quality. I think
I agree because if you look at it, right, like I mean, like currently now, right, obviously, if everyone was fit for our team right now, like if I looked at players that I generally thought were generally world class players, right, obviously it's Rodri. I mean, Ballon d'Or last season, obviously, and for me, best DM in the world. I think he's an all round player. He's brilliant. Haaland's a great goal scorer, but again, as a player, a lot more that he could probably do. I think overall his game, but I think in terms of goal scoring and that, I think he's the best in the world. I've always said that Phil Foden has potential to be a world class player, but you can't be world class one season and then absolutely terrible the next. You've got to have a consistency every year. It can't just be one world class season. Like I'm not calling Doué world class or Dembele world class. I'm sorry, one great year is brilliant for them two, but I've got to see him do it again this year. Donnarumma for me is world-class goalkeeper because he's done it at AC Milan, done it at PSG. I've seen enough from him to say he's a world-class goalkeeper. I think Yamal for me is probably at the world-class stage now. I was careful to say world-class for a couple more years, and I'm like, you know what, at 18 doing what he's doing, I can't not say he's world class at this point. He's
But
doing
not just sort of doing it year on year, doing it game on game. Like, I mean, I don't pretend that I watch every Barcelona game because I don't. But every time I see him, or watch the highlights or the game or whatever, he's always like there. Like he's probably the exception to that rule. But I don't know. Like I want to get Rich's take on something. Now that he's obviously left City, I want to kind of get Rich's opinion on this, because for me, Kevin De Bruyne, without a shadow of a doubt, is the best Premier League midfielder ever to grace the Premier League.
Oh,
Like
okay.
that's but the point I'm trying to make is a lot of fans would argue for that to not be the case. Now, my argument to that is, if he'd have played for a Liverpool or a United or a Chelsea or someone like that, I know he did play for Chelsea, but he wasn't at the height of his game at Chelsea. If he hadn't have played for City and he'd have played for an Arsenal or a United, he would already be there as undoubtedly the best Premier League player in the world. It's because he's played for City and people hate City, the reason why that's kind of knocked him down the tier list.
I don't know. I think it's okay. There's an argument, regarding who's the best, and I think it's difficult because obviously Kevin De Bruyne has been a top quality player for quite a lot of years for City. I think a lot of people, let's say, there's always been a debate with so for me, Steven Gerrard, as where he stands. But I don't think Steven Gerrard is as good as a lot of people say he is. I know people look at it and go, but I think with Steven Gerrard, you pick out key games, don't you, in his career and go, okay, the Istanbul one, etc. There's like a couple of finals.
What I would say on that,
and I think he's limited as a player. Pardon?
What I'd say as part of the argument to that, if you look at games that Kevin De Bruyne played, there are games that he's played which has individually won us the league. You know, you only have to take that game against Aston Villa with the assists that he made. That won us the league. That game, he single-handedly won us the league. If you look at Steven Gerrard, he never won the league.
No, that's what I say. I think with Steven Gerrard, I think it depends on because there's a lot of people that don't watch the games or they look at stats and Steven Gerrard got into team of the season quite a lot. I mean, I've been sat in the Stretford End watching people like Scholes completely control a game where he does everything. Everything goes through him in terms of the teams going from left to right. We're pretty much monopolizing possession, and this is watching us. So 2008, when we were the best team in Europe, the best team in the Premier League, and I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because I'm going to be backing my players because I think they've done quite similar. They've won a crazy amount of league titles. They've been the best player in their team as well. And I think a lot of people at United, or maybe not United fans, a lot of people that are not United fans would always say, okay, this is the key player. And they pick out players that are not the key player for Manchester United. The key players for Manchester United in the 90s were definitely Eric Cantona was a key player. Roy Keane was a key player in terms of if he's missing, when he was injured, our team doesn't perform as well. And Paul Scholes was a key player. But the thing is that a lot of other players are like City. I think City have the same issue United had in the 90s. Because your team is so good, overall, does Kevin De Bruyne stand out? Maybe to people looking, they look at the goal scorers more than anything. I think for United fans always look at Cristiano Ronaldo, and he's phenomenal, world-class player. But Wayne Rooney was the more complete player and the player that was responsible for the wins. Ronaldo will score goals all day, but if we took Ronaldo out of the team, Wayne Rooney he'd be able to score goals and create chances. So I think with this one, Kevin De Bruyne is. Now, his levels above Gerrard, levels above Gerrard, but Liverpool fans won't have that. I think based on he's won for me. Stevie G was a bit hit and miss, like a cup run, wasn't he? He get a good few performances, but a lot of games where he did nothing in matches. Whereas Kevin De Bruyne's always a massive problem. And I think from my perspective, looking at Scholes, if you see the range of passing and it's the consistency, consistency over 15 seasons. Alex Ferguson is a brutal manager. You don't have any passengers in the squad. So you're only in the team if you're good enough. And the fact that some of players could play till 38, 39, I think that again, it's that with I think with Kevin De Bruyne, maybe it's like longevity a bit. If he'd have played another couple of seasons, but I think it's definitely like a Liverpool fan base where their players get elevated. Van Dijk, he's good now, but compared with say you're looking at Vincent Company was a better player at his peak. John Terry was probably more consistent for a long time, and I think for me, my personal favourite was probably Rio Ferdinand in terms of like what he did. And but
Shock.
again, everyone's going to have different views, but I think they have different skill sets. It's difficult, isn't it? Because I'm going to pick my player, you're going to pick your player. Essentially, they're probably like I think they're more complete players than Lampard, more complete players than Gerrard. And again, I think Scholes used to do a bit more that a slightly different role. He got a lot of early on in the season, lots of goals. So he's more of a goal scorer. Then later his season, it wasn't necessarily assists. It was more control of the game, like where you could actually control the game, work opportunities and things. But it's just how the team set up. I think Kevin De Bruyne, he was clearly vital in terms of like getting you the wins, in terms of like what he's doing. And he was like, I don't know if he's underrated, because I think he was definitely rated a lot higher by people I know that watch football. But I think maybe some people are not watching the game are going to be, and maybe sports writers, a lot of Liverpool fans in those positions. There's probably a reason why. I mean, they hate Man United. They probably don't like City either, and this is probably why we see a lot of
hate City.
They probably do. I think that on the pitch you don't see it as much, but I think the media. I mean, I just see it from Man United's perspective. Every single transfer I covered this summer, if even if we're not looking at a player, the press will try and link into Man United. Like there's also like this weird obsession.
I'll give you a statistic now, right? And this kind of for me just shows how much like opposition fans actually despise Man City. So you take a look, right? And I'll ask you a question. Who has the most goals as an overseas player in the Premier League?
So what was the question?
Who has the most goals as an overseas player in the Premier League?
Most goals. Good question. Is Mo Salah up there, or is it Aguero? I'm not sure. Is it one of those two?
It's Aguero.
Is it Salah now?
Is Mo Salah close?
Oh, is it Salah now? Is it?
It's Salah now, I think. Yeah, Salah now.
I mean, prior to last season, it was Aguero, right? Who has the most hat tricks in the Premier League? Sergio Aguero. But when you put Sergio Aguero's name into a debate, he's never even considered in the top 5 Premier League strikers of all time.
No.
Now, that you have the most overseas goal. You have the most goals as an overseas player in the Premier League, ahead of people like Henry, and the most hat tricks in Premier League history. You look at that and say, how can he not be? He did it consistently for years and years and years. But because, and this is the point I was trying to make before, Rich, about Kevin De Bruyne. If Aguero had played for a Liverpool or an Arsenal or a United, he would go down as one of the best strikers in Premier League history. But because he plays for City, that kind of like casts a shadow over his name. And it's the same with Kevin De Bruyne. Like these, and people don't even mention David Silva now. Like, if these players had played for a Liverpool or a United or an Arsenal or a Chelsea, like everyone would be talking about how legendary these players were. But it's almost like it's like a point scoring thing. If you play for City, you've gone from being like a 9 out of 10 to like a 6 out of 10. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Go on.
No, I was going to say, yeah, it's one of these things, isn't it? Where I don't know. It's like whether maybe it's one of these issues where a lot of people have told me over the years. Maybe it's when I was in school, saying, "Oh, they pick out Man United players and go, oh, Gary Neville's a shit right back," and go, "Oh, okay, this person's," and they go through all the teams. And you go, "Well, if we got this team of like average players, how are we winning everything?" And I think sometimes it's when, if your team's like quite consistent in terms of like, I think a lot of people, Man United fans, me included, we didn't realize how good Scholes was until we replaced him with about 10 players that are useless in comparison. And you don't realize how good um, other players are until you replace them with inferior players. But because they're so consistent and they have a certain level, they don't necessarily stand out. Like because Aguero scores goals every week, it's pretty much just like, oh, Aguero scored again. It's the same like Harry Kane. I think Harry Kane is almost like too consistent that people don't. He goes to Bayern Munich, scores about 50 goals, and people just go, yeah, everyone does that at Bayern Munich. Like it's like, no, come on, he's gone there and scored like 50, 60 goals, and people, he'll come back to the Premier League and could get 25, 30 goals, which again it would be more than Isak, and people go, yeah, but he's just a goal. Like come on, like Harry Kane scores headers, like volleys, like long distance shots, tap ins. He does everything, but people won't rate him for some reason because they like Isak. I don't get it. Isak's like potentially gets nowhere near his goal total, but no, I think Staffy says what you got a treble 4p. Everyone hates you. I think it's one. I don't know. Like Thierry Henry, I made this comment saying like Thierry Henry, World Cup winner, phenomenal player, but I think it's just testament to United's team had a lot of players that people didn't rate as much, but we won more titles than Arsenal back then, and that's why I think Arsenal their season or their squad this season, I don't think it's anywhere near that level. Like they got no one near as good as Henry, no one as good as Vieira, Bergkamp, Overmars. Like their team isn't as good. So I don't know whether that's an indication that Arsenal can't win the league or whether football's dropped off. Because I think they were what 2 titles in like 6 years, and that
I do think
their team is. You think it's dropped off? Because that team, if you put Arsenal's team into a title race against United between 98, 99, it's not going to the last day of the season. The current Arsenal team would be mid-table in terms of like the quality.
I think I'm going to be honest. I think that's you being quite generous. I put the old Blackburn team up against Arsenal. I think Blackburn walked them.
I think actually their title winning team was pretty much packed of quality, wasn't it? So they had a good goalkeeper, good defense, solid midfield, very good striker. I don't know. I just think like in terms of what you're saying regarding like Aguero, I don't know why he's not rated so much. But I see people talking about Henry versus Salah, and I think Salah's there because of longevity more than anything.
Yeah, I think a lot of it though is always down to just what's the going thing at the time and that. But I think if you look at it right, I think the best ever player, I think Henry for me has always been sort of because I think more Arsenal fans than anything else picking him up that much. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a brilliant player, Henry, brilliant player, but I think you can put other players at the back like De Bruyne and that who have done obviously won more league titles, obviously got more assists, obviously obviously not anywhere in the goals, but obviously was it a 78 or was it or 80 odd goals thing and then some odd assists, so he obviously got quite a few of that anyway. But like I think it's always down to like who people support and their clubs that they support and that. But I think for me, if I had to put a debate for midfielders, I probably would say it's Scholes and De Bruyne above everyone else. I'll back the myself, but I get it with Scholes. Scholes has won the lot. Scholes has shown that he has done a lot. Lampard did a lot, but Lampard for me was a great goal scorer, but as all-round midfielder, not as good as De Bruyne and Scholes. I think Gerrard, for me, you can't put Gerrard the best midfielder in the league, and he didn't even win the league anyway.
I think that the argument with Gerrard as well. Gerrard did have good players. Like there's a lot of seasons where Liverpool had the best goal scorer in the Premier League. Like they had, I think Torres got the most goals. Suarez got the most goals. They had Mascherano, Xabi Alonso. They had players that then went to win Champions League with Real Madrid. How can they say Steven Gerrard didn't have enough good teammates? Of course he did. It's like I think it's a weak excuse. Yeah,
I agree on that one. But yeah, look, that kind of debate I think is something that you have for a long time, and I probably still have another answer. But then again, look at what Scholes said about De Bruyne, obviously, and what even like Lampard and Gerrard said about De Bruyne. That all three of them love De Bruyne and rate him so high, didn't they? So it can't show you what we need to know really. If the the greats of the game are bigging him up. Look at Henry, say how much he respect, like he gives anything a brain like the Bruins obviously on the pitch, like having that kind of like respect. I like the most likes of Xavi and Iniesta, like that's a kind of like level that you should be. You should be. I think it's well worth it and well deserved. I think, but again, everyone's got different opinions of that. But I think what I've seen in the last few years with De Bruyne for Belgium, the City, and I think he's been unbelievable. Even now for like Napoli and Belgium, now he's still doing it at 34. So, you know what I mean? Like some players just, no matter how slow they get, the ability is still there. I think that's a testament to obviously how good he is as a player. Do you know what? I think we're almost 2 hours in. Do you know what? Let's actually ask for a prediction because I think I haven't done that yet. Obviously,
Yeah, we have to go quite soon. I said like an hour. I'll probably have to go quite soon so we can do that. Yeah,
that's all good, mate. No worries, it's all good, mate. Right, predictions then. Do you know what? I'll go with the guest first, Rich. What do you think?
yeah. I think I'm going to be consistent with what I said yesterday. I think it's going to be one of these games where I think it could go either way, mainly because I think both teams have got issues, and I'm going to be confident and just say that I didn't think we'd win against you last year. I'm going to go for a Man United win 2-1 because I think it's going to be one of these games where we could potentially it could go either way, couldn't it? If we lose, I think we could easily lose like 3 or 4-0. We could easily win 2 or 3-0. I think that it's really difficult this early in the season to pick and think that there's no real form, is there? We played a mixture of like good. We tend to play better against good teams. So that's kind of like a semi compliment towards you guys. We tend to actually play better against teams we perceive to be tougher opposition. So I think maybe we can sneak it, but I would say I think it could be 1-1, or if we nick it 2-1, that's going to be my prediction. But close game, I think it'll be.
Cool. Bevo?
I'm going to go the other way. I think I've looked at the opponents that you've played, and you are right, Rich. Like you do, some strange reasons seem to play better against the stronger teams. But I'm basing it off what I saw in your last game against Burnley. I didn't think you were great. I'm going to say 4-0.
Wow.
Well, I went 4-0.
I mean, you look at like Bruno Fernandes like celebrating the fact that there was a goal kick or something like that, and it was just a bit sort of like, really, like you're playing Burnley here, like do you know? And no disrespect to Burnley, but a team like Man United should be walking them. So I think you've got Haaland coming off the back of scoring 5 and getting an assist for Norway. We've got like Josko coming back into the team, potentially a safe goalkeeper in Donnarumma starting. And I know the guy can save shots, so I'm probably going to say 4-0. Well, I am saying 4-0.
Yeah. Well, I went 4-0 on Martin's show yesterday, so I went 4-0. Yeah, I'm going 4-0. Now, does that mean if full faith in at 4-0? It depends on the goals in this team. I think right now, our current team at the moment, it's got.
Rich is right though. Like I'm saying 4-0, but I'm not confident with 4-0.
No,
like it could easily be 2-0 United. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
it's kind of hard, isn't it? Like, if we won 3-0, I wouldn't be like massively surprised. If you won 3-0, I wouldn't be massively surprised. If it's a draw, I wouldn't be surprised. It's one of these games where I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think we'll create chances. If we take them, we win.
Yeah.
And I think we'll concede chances if you guys take them. Well.
Amorim seems to have Pep's number, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of the only numbers he's got.
I think it's because right, Pep last season was so stubborn and didn't change the way he played, and because of that, we played the same stupid way. Everyone read it easily. Now this season, we've seen a change, but it's not. It's obviously a lot of errors going right now to work through. Again, if our team creates chances and score them, I think it'll be a 4-0 win, but it's down to our players to put the ball back in the net. And I don't know where we are right now in that front because the wingers at the moment, right? We've got Bob who's playing. I think for a first season starting off on the right wing, I think he's doing a pretty decent job of what he has to do. Like, I know he's not world class, but he's meant to be. It's his first proper season for us right now. Obviously, for me, I'm not playing Doku on left. I'm playing Savinho right now. I don't care if he's just a match fit. He's better than Doku. This isn't saying much, but I'm putting Savinho on the left right now. And I need wingers to be creative. So it's a 4-0, but like you said, it could be any scoreline. That's how mad this game is, because both teams are so weird right now. They're so unsure of themselves right now.
Watch it be a 0-0.
Oh god, yeah, most boring game ever. 0-0. Also, watch both keepers.
I think United could go out there though to make it a boring game. I think they could go out there to basically sit back and just spend 90 minutes in a low block and then maybe get like a cheeky little counter attack. I think that's probably the way that they're going to go about it.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I agree on that. But yeah, I'll go 4-0, but it's more. It's an easy 4-0 because like it's not me being overconfident. I just be like, if we have the chances there and the players up for it, it can be a 4-0 win. But if it could be a 0-0, could be a 2-1 loss. Like last season for me, right? We were terrible. I could score a goal last season. It was going to be a miserable 1-0 win, which is crazy that I'm saying that, but we were terrible that game. But United got a penalty and got one at the end. Well, great themselves. 1-2-1. Because it got chances and put them away. So it's completely down to our players scoring goals on Sunday. It really is.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, well, I'm sure it'll be an interesting game. Yeah, I'm honestly, I never look forward to derbies anyway. I never look forward to them. I always hate them. So I imagine I imagine the nerves will probably build a lot more towards Sunday. So yeah.
Do you know what? Out of all derbies that we've played, this is the one that I'm kind of the least nervous about. And I'll tell you why. Because last season, and previous seasons, my mentality changed a little bit. So when we were awful through the sort of years pre-takeover, it was nervous because it was wanting to go there and beat United. It was like just go and beat them. Like I couldn't have cared less if we lost every other game of the season. If we got 2 wins against United, home and away, that's my season sorted. And then when we started getting better as a team and started to sort of win things and improve on the team, then it kind of changed for me. It was a case of, right, okay, I want to now beat United to show that we are there, and then it was a case of after that, not wanting them to get our number and wanting to continue on with success. But after last year, I think last year deflated me so much that this year I have 0 expectations for the team. So I think for me, like, this is the least nervous that I've been in the derby, not because I care any less. Obviously I want us to win, but this year I have no expectation for the team.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have no expectations for my team either. I have no idea what to expect.
The most uncertain derby ever. The most uncertain derby of all time. Because I think both teams
It'd be like 3-3. At least we've got some goals to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. 3 goals.
I'd rather like a high scoring draw than I don't want to see a 0-0. Like, let's see some goals at least or something to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll see what happens anyway. But big up, Rich, for coming on. Always appreciate it. Congrats.
No, it's a pleasure, actually. I appreciate that. Nice to speak to you guys again. It's been like a while, so good to catch up. And again,
Yeah,
to like good to we see we can team up against Liverpool, can't we? Even if we don't
Yeah.
agree about our own teams.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fuck Liverpool. But no, honestly though, congrats as well, almost reaching 10K, by the way. As well
Wow.
deserved. I think you're one of the hardest working people in the community, mate. You put a lot of effort into your streams and that.
I
So
appreciate that. I appreciate it. I think that just shows that Man United are just talked about a lot, even when we're crap, unfortunately.
no, but big up, mate. Honestly, you work hard and do a lot for that channel, and I'm happy you're doing very well with it, mate. Big up to you, man.
Appreciate
So,
that.
yeah. To anyone who wants to subscribe to him, if you're a City fan, I wouldn't blame you not going over there. But if you're a United fan, come along this stream.
If you're a City fan, there's probably reasons to watch that are different to reasons for Man
Yeah,
United to watch. We
it's
do
7-1.
like more match reactions, and sometimes they're more popular when we don't do well. I get that.
I've got a bit of news as well. Something that I wanted to kind of tell everyone on the chat.
Yeah.
It's not been sort of it's been talked about behind the scenes, and it's something that we're gonna be doing. Not in my lifetime. We're going to be doing this. It's something which is close to my heart and something that I've set up. Luke knows about it. There's quite a few people that sort of and I'm now sort of getting behind the scenes and sort of organising. There'll be a lot more to come on it, but it's huge. It's not huge for us because personally I don't see it as something for us. It's something that we can do to sort of give back to the communities. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a collection of cuddly toys to donate to children at Christmas that may not have anything to open. We're teaming up with 1894 to make this possible. So everyone from there, massive shout out to them. Yeah. It's something which we're going to be discussing a lot more sort of closer to the time, but I wanted to sort of get it out there to sort of show what we're planning on doing. But yeah, it's gonna be brilliant. I'm really excited by what we're doing. Again, it's something that's quite close to me and to my heart, and the amount of positivity, which it's not something that we can say a lot of at the moment around football, but also around the world. The amount of positivity and reach, people that have reached out, that want to help us and want to make this possible, is nothing short of overwhelming. And honestly, every single person that has said that they want to contribute towards it, I am so grateful. But yeah, towards Christmas, we're going to be doing these collections, and there'll be more information coming out. There'll be posters and all sorts. Yeah. But I wanted to give everyone a heads up on something that we're going to be doing over the next few months.
Yeah. So yes, that'd be good. So again, we'll share links and kind of stuff and everything for that. We'll see near the time, but at the moment, obviously, it's something that we're sort of working on behind the scenes at the moment. But Bevo's obviously done a lot of the most work so far anyway. But he's done a great job so far. So big up to him, and we look forward to giving you more information soon. That's for sure. But but obviously before that though, big up the chat, big up everyone for tuning in as always. We'll see you guys obviously for the review show. Probably Monday or Tuesday, probably in the week. We'll work out anyway. Maybe give it a bit of time, but we'll let you guys know. Big up to Richard coming on as always. Okay.
And just to add, we've got some pretty special guests coming up.
We do, yeah. Again, we'll when we get a date for that, we'll.
Yeah. It's exciting times. It's really, really exciting times.
Yeah, 100%. I'm gonna look forward to it. A big up, Rich, coming on, mate. Much appreciated as always. We'll get you on again probably for the
Cheers, guys. Nice to speak to you again, Bevo. Nice to speak to you, Luke. And
yeah,
And you, mate.
good luck for the
Even
rest
if
of
you
your
are a
season.
red.
Weekend. What's that, Bevo?
I said, even if you are a red.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll say I think it's one of these situations where, yeah, it'd be nice to get a rivalry where we're actually back up competing. I think it's quite a long time since we were competing with City, and it's a bit boring watching Arsenal against Liverpool like last season. Hopefully, we can get teams that hate each other a bit more at the top of the table.
100%. Bring it on. Bring it on. A big amount of everyone for tuning in. I'll see you guys again for the review show, probably on next week. Have a good weekend. Come on, City on Sunday. Let's win 4-0. Come on.
2-1 United.